Yeah, so welcome everyone. So excited to be doing this presentation with you today, Neil. I think that the whole idea of the metaverse is quite daunting maybe for some, very exciting for others, but it's an area that's really so untapped, and there's so much opportunity, I believe, for the timeshare industry here. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how it all works and how our industry can really tap into this platform and benefit from the opportunities it offers, especially from the sales. We were just saying earlier that it's not just the new generation holiday makers. It's not just the millennials and the Gen Z. I know that that is a focus for us right now, but that it has a much wider and broader scope. So just before we kick off, just to let everybody know that the Q&A is open for questions, and Neil will answer those at the end of his presentation. I'm going to start the poll as well. There we go. We're asking today, what is the likelihood of your business entering the metaverse? And then we also asked which sector of the industry you're in. So we'd love to know that. So remember to go down there and give us that info as well. So I think that I'm now going to just hand the screen over and sit back and enjoy your presentation.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody. It's a subject which I'm really, really passionate about, and really excited to share. And I think the metaverse is one of those things that is very widely misunderstood. People see avatars moving around, and it's not real people, and it's not a real world. And so I hope to shed some light exactly what the metaverse is actually all about. And I'm certainly going to be covering what it is from navigating the future of business in the metaverse. So, and I think that's where, a lot of the sort of, let's call it exposure, media articles, online, etc., that talks about the metaverse rather as like an extension of gamification as opposed to being a proper business tool. So hopefully today I'm going to be able to share that. So I'm going to just share my screen with you. This is the title of my presentation today, is essentially navigating the future of business in the metaverse. So where did this all start, and what is the metaverse? And the metaverse really is an extension. It's a virtual world where you can engage, very much similar to if you were in a real life world. And where did it all start? Well, we've heard about all these different things in technology, from blockchain to different hardware, to networking, to artificial intelligence, to IPFS, which is interplanetary file system, which is just really files which are stored on the web, social media, cloud services, NFTs, and exchanges, which is non-fungible tokens. And really what it is, it's a combination of everything where you can interact into a 3D world using all of this different technology. And so what we've seen this whole process sort of evolve from the time of Google. Now, we had Google Glass, and that didn't stick around for too long. That was first an extension of Web 1.0, and then we saw, when COVID came along, everybody was using Zoom, as we're using Zoom right now. And I mean, Zoom only had about, I think it was something like 40,000 to 100,000 users, and then they went to 120,000. But then during COVID, it went to 40 million. So for the first time, people were now compelled to use technologies like Teams, like Zoom, and all these different other technologies. And certainly COVID was, kick-started that whole technology world. So, but really what that world is, the Zoom world and the Teams world, is really what we call a static world, because really what there's no real engagement. I mean, you know, many people are probably sitting on the other side and you're probably multitasking. You know, you're probably on Facebook, or you may be sending an email at the same time. And it's not all of you. I'm just saying that is what happens when you do have multiple people on a Zoom meeting, and then people can't really see what you're doing on the other side. Could be sitting in your pajamas, you know, or doing different activities. So really where it's moved from static, dynamic, semantic to spatial, and really where people can start engaging with each other almost like you are in a real world life scenario. So really it's all this technology of virtual and augmented reality, where you can include any technology on this platform. You can put any link, you can put anything in one space without leaving that space. So typically you can add all the different functionalities and technical and any technology that you want to add, you can put onto the Metaverse platform. And so if we look at blockchain, and eventually, you know, blockchain is going to have a bigger impact going forward. And for those of you, really, blockchain is just really a very secure platform. And those of you that know cryptocurrency and that kind of stuff knows that the back end of crypto is run on blockchain. And that's what makes crypto such a good investment. It's not really crypto itself, it's rather the fact that crypto runs on blockchain. And certainly the future of banking and transactions are all going to be done on blockchain through the secure platform. And eventually all metaverses will also run in future on blockchain. The other misconception about the metaverse is that you've got to wear a 3D headset. Now, that's not entirely true. The take-up of the 3D headsets is only around about a quarter of the users, which tends to be your younger, new millennial, your gamers, and the gamers are already sort of in the metaverse. You know, games like Fortnite, etc., that are really, you know, well used by if we look at the new millennials. So Oculus is really owned by Facebook, which is now called Meta, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But essentially, you have the option of either going in with a 3D headset, or you could just go in 2D. And I think at this end of this presentation, I will demo a real metaverse that we've got, so I can show you. And I always say the best way to explain the metaverse is actually just to demo the metaverse. So we also saw Microsoft that spent $68 billion on Activation Blizzard, which is really a gaming sort of platform. And the reason they did that was really to take their knowledge and understanding of the metaverse, you know, right inside that business, because they see it as the future. And in fact, it was Bill Gates who said that the future of virtual meetings in about 3 or 4 years' time will all be in the metaverse. So, and already we have done a lot of meetings in the metaverse very successfully. We've done a lot of events in the metaverse very successfully. And when I demo a little bit later, you can see some of the functionalities of the metaverse. Then there's the non-fungible tokens, and really what NFTs are is any piece of artwork. It could be a video, it could be any intellectual property that you might have that you could put onto blockchain and that you cannot replicate more than once. So you could take a logo, you could take anything, and you can create what you call this non-fungible token and put it into the metaverse, and you can actually transact, and you can buy and sell this. And we saw initially when, you know, NFTs came out that people, there was, and you can see it's a little icon there. It was $69 million was paid for people. And we actually saw a little bit of a bubble. There's crypto kitties, collect and breed digital cats. And so essentially, I think we've seen that NFTs is one part of the metaverse. It's not is the metaverse, but it gives you a sort of a transactional ability to be able to buy and sell. And as I mentioned, there was a little bit of a bubble in terms of NFTs in the US in particular. So some people haven't managed to be able to get a return on the NFTs that they created. But that is something that you can create, any IP that you want to create and preserve as intellectual property. So I want to go delve in a little bit more about, what is the metaverse? Because I think, a little people are asking that question. So really it's a universal and it's an immersive world that is facilitated with the use of virtual reality and augmented reality. So it is a network of 3D virtual worlds focused mainly on social connection. And I think that is the key. It is really an extension of the real life world. And that essentially is what differentiates it from any other platform. So who are the players that are in there? And I mentioned Facebook, which is renamed to Meta. These are the kind of big platforms at the moment. There's Decentraland, where you can buy and sell real estate in Decentraland. You could rent it out. You could actually create digital twins of any development or any office or any property development or any area such as the V&A waterfront, and you can start buying and selling virtual land. So these are the players that are currently in there. There's a lot more, but certainly it is definitely growing in stature all the time. So essentially, what problem does the metaverse solve? And I think this is what a lot of people are saying, oh no, it's just an extension of gamification. But what it really is, it makes virtual interactions more like real ones. And that's a fundamental difference. You can talk to people even directly with your video, and I'll demo a little bit later. I'm going to have my colleague inside one of the metaverses. And we can either have a conversation with our video on or with our avatar. And you can create your avatar within 5 minutes. And very quickly, you can actually change your clothing. You could change the color of your hair. You can pretty much do anything in terms of creating that avatar, so you can have a daily change of clothing. It allows you also to overcome obstacles that prevents you from doing things in real life. And of course, with COVID, we learned that, we were quite hamstrung. We were in lockdown and we couldn't move around. But what it's done in business is that people are saying, well, what is the cost of traveling to places around the world? And how could I solve that problem using the metaverse? Because it becomes a far more cost-effective way of being able to do the same thing you could do in real life, but essentially a lot cheaper. So it's also the growth of the online gaming using augmented and virtual reality have also started to become mainstream. And gamification was very much for a very small sector of the market. And certainly it's opened up, to anybody else. And really that's what it does. It's encouraged engagement and interaction with people, very different to the way we're doing on this static platform on Zoom, for example. It gives us the ability to create multiple communities in an engaging 3D internet space. And it's not uncommon to have 3,000-4,000 people in a metaverse, in one metaverse space, where people can engage and interact, they can consume content, they can sell product. And I'll touch on a little bit more of that a little bit later. So why is the metaverse a good investment now? And essentially, the big advantage is that you can create a decentralized world where users can lead the way and become the creators of the metaverse and the future of technology. So it's almost when somebody is first in, you can become a creator and a driver of this new innovation, which is called the metaverse. So communities are growing every single day, and we're going to see more and more metaverses building up, and eventually there's going to be multiverses. So if we look at just the market size at the moment, in 2022, the metaverse market is valued at $62 billion US. And they are expecting the global metaverse market size estimated to reach almost 470 billion US dollars by 2027 at a compound annual growth rate of 47.2%. So you can just see the massive growth and the interest in this particular sector. So where is it applicable? Now, that is actually my avatar, which will go into one of the spaces. We have actually had multiple events, and this was a particular investor event that we actually sold some real estate investments, and it was quite successful. And you can put your presentation on the front screen. Most importantly is that you can have your video, you can put your video up, you can put your presentation up. But most importantly, you can interact with your business card almost immediately. Drop your business card. You can either talk to somebody in private or in a group. There's different ways that you can interact as if you were at a real live event. And the big beauty of the metaverse is that you can access it 365 days a year, 24/7 at any time, and you can consume any content or do any transaction in that space real time when you're in that space. So events and gatherings and concerts is really where it's taken off for product launches, and that's where I think we've seen most of the excitement around the metaverse. NFT campaigns and galleries, marketing and advertising, shopping and customer support, influencer and fan engagement, financial services, media, discussion groups, and loyalty programs, real estate. And as I said, we did some real estate launches. And so this is also a great place where you can load all your content. You can get people to engage with that content and actually transact in that particular space. So there's a lot of ways you can utilize the metaverse and where it's applicable. And I think the big key and the big advantage is that it becomes a better website. And so we've linked, obviously, our metaverse to our website, and on the front page, you can click through on the REI website, and you can click through and you can go visit our metaverse, and you can zip around and consume our products. And if you want to sell product, you can do that as well. So really what the metaverse does, it adds people, places, and things to the web for a deeper and more memorable experience, because you cannot just do that on the web in one place. You cannot just go to one place, and you cannot add things such as digital wallets or all kind of transactional type things that you can do in the metaverse. You'd have to go to different pages and move around and leave the space that where you currently are located. There's a lot of plugin architecture that you can add in. So certainly for the developer community, it certainly creates new functionality, and it rapidly integrates third parties. So any third-party software or anything that you want to add in, you can add into your own metaverse. Very, very easy. There's also extensive analytics. So we can track, who's been looking at your videos, who's been consuming your content, who's been clicking on your various content, your downloadables, your PDFs, your transactional. So when you log in, you obviously get your avatar and you got your business card, which you can exchange pretty much immediately. So there is extensive analytics that you can get access to. It's scalable, so it extends the web to enable infinitely scalable and secure online social spaces with dynamic and interactive digital objects. And, we could create an augmented reality person. I know we have got chatbots on websites, but we could actually get a person in an avatar who could actually help you, who could actually be, you could have the company pet. You could put a dog or cat or whatever kind of pet you want to put in there. So really it is the most scalable, proven web-based metaverse. And as I mentioned earlier, it's on-ramp to the multiverse, which is other metaverses. So while the default entry point of the metaverse is meant to be a gateway to other verse, metaverse projects, games, and applications. So that's essentially what it is. So it's a new canvas, really, for human imagination and, most importantly, interaction. So I think from a business perspective, and I think that's where a lot of you will say, well, how can we use the metaverse for commerce? How can we use it for business? Well, there's many ways. And this is just a few ways that I'm going to just, share with you. And that is, the first thing is you can build a business which is free of physical counterpart, and you could create a virtual office or gathering areas that gives customers a unique, exclusive virtual experience. So you could launch any business, whatever that business may be, in the metaverse pretty quickly. There are different ways that you can get into the metaverse within a couple of hours. And it's really just loading in content. And that's unlikely that's going to happen if you have a website. The whole trackable, how to get people there would be the traditional way of how you would do digital marketing to drive traffic to those areas. Brands, you can sell products and virtual products in the metaverse by creating multiple display areas, and you could create an interactive shopping experience in a 3D engaging environment. So you could create all different types of things. You could give away coupons, whether they're digital coupons. You could give away even real life vouchers that you could essentially, you could actually use those vouchers, whether it's in the metaverse directly or in the real world. Education, and this is a big area where we've had a lot of inquiries from various universities and various institutions where you can teach and learn in the metaverse. And universities and schools now have enough space, because their biggest issue is having enough campus space to obviously accommodate all the students. And the metaverse now gives enough space to create a large enough campus for student lectures. You can put in virtual field trips, and also allow students to become interactive and also creators in that space. And we know, in the new millennials, most of them are gamers. They're very much quick learners, and there's no better way to learn and grow in the space by using that space very, very quickly. Other ways is that you can invest in virtual real estate, and you can get a foothold in the buy and sell, rent and manage real estate to generate an income. Or essentially taking control of what other users, which you could mimic real life examples and call it digital twins. And if you look in the Decentraland and the Sandbox, they're two of the most well-known metaverse creators that are selling plots of land and real estate in their virtual worlds. And then there's virtual events and entertainment. So we've done a number of events, and you can host conferences. We had about 500 people at our digitalization conference, company gatherings, networking, concerts, fashion shows, and art exhibitions. And it provides a solid promotional platform for your brand. And, the more interactive they are, the better, they become more memorable and also more engaging experience to get customers to certainly interact. I think we certainly learned that that we cannot use the metaverse in the same way as we use it for live presentations, as we use it on Zoom or on Teams, because people like to move around. They like to interact. They don't like to be in one place at one given time. So we keep the live talk time much less, to 15, 20 minutes. And the rest of the time, we rather load content, video content, where people can consume at their own time, because everybody's busy. Everybody wants to move around. People rather want to engage and interact. And that's really fundamentally where the metaverse works really, really well. You can put digital advertisements, promoting your products in a virtual world in the metaverse, giving you more publicity. And you can also sell products. You can actually have a display area where you could actually sell your products, and even like an online retail world. NFTs, I mentioned that a little bit earlier. They're also a vital component of the metaverse platform, and it provides businesses with an easy, clear-cut way to sell products such as art, music, or videos, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. So how do we join the metaverse? You understand and you view how it operates, and I'll show you a little bit later. And if you consider how the metaverse can align with your business, I think that's what you're really going to say, well, how could we use it to best effect in our business and for our brand and for our target audience? And then essentially, then I think you've got to brainstorm, how you can get engaging campaigns with metaverse specialists like ourselves. I mean, we've got teams and of people that can help you be able to learn how to engage in this space. Choose a metaverse platform that works for you and really invest and join the metaverse. And that essentially comes to the end of my presentation. What I'd like to do is just to take you to so you can essentially build your own space. I want to take you to a live demo. The metaverse, if I had to speak to everybody would be able to hear me. So this particular space over here, you can see there's my avatar. Now what I can do is if I switch my video on and off, you'll see me sitting now in the studio. So you can see I'm a real live person in the studio. Now I did ask my colleague to be there. I don't know whether he is there. I'm not quite sure his avatar, because what we can do is I can click on that space. I can see who is in that space, and then I can start interacting because my colleague is not there. So what we've done in our space, we've put up a little tutorial for people, to go in their own time, how to move in the space. One of the key things, you've got to use a very basic headset. You could use pods, or you could use anything like that. So what we can now do is we can now move around this particular space. So what we've done is we've loaded all our magazines in the space over here, and you can go into this area and you can now consume content. And we've got video content, we've got various content that we can go. If we go through here, I'll click through to some of the webinars that we've done, very successfully, and and we could click onto these different types of sort of webinars and that kind of thing. So so there we go. We can, anybody can go now into their own time, and essentially they could consume that anytime they want to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is there's different functionalities. There's a video on, there's a video of very similar to you have in Zoom. There's a digital wallet, as I mentioned, there's people, and I should actually ask my colleague to be there because I could drop him a business card straight away. There's different emojis which I could use, and I could jump up and down, I could move around, I could talk to somebody directly when they are there. Also, there's a conference facility. And so if I put my video on over here, you can see there's my video. And now in this section over here, I could easily, there's my colleague, Alex. I could easily in this space over here, do any presentation. You want to switch on your video there, Alex? So Alex, you just want to switch on your video there quickly. So cool. I think he's, yeah, there's Alex. So Alex, we're going to show us your avatar, your walking avatar now. So we can zip across over there. So Alex hasn't got his walking avatar at the moment. Now, what I could do is, anybody's there, there's Alex. So what I could do is I can follow this person. I could ask this person to follow me. I could exchange a business card. I could chat. And so immediately he's accepted the business card. We can go to the user, we can do it via the chat box, or we can have a discussion by ourselves. So I don't know what happened to your walking avatar there, Alex. Okay. Yeah. He's disappeared for a while, but that's normally something that you set up right up front, and sometimes you got to make sure that you got all those different functionalities. So yeah, so I'm not going to take you, there's different worlds that we can essentially go to and I'm going to zip out back to the back onto the Zoom platform. So I'm going to stop the share there, and I'm just going to have a look at the. I don't know if there were questions or anything, or people would like to fire questions. Is it in the Q&A box, or is there questions over there? Okay.
No, we don't have any questions in the Q&A at this stage. So, yeah, anyone who might have a query, please go ahead and
yeah. So I'm happy to answer any questions. So if anybody's got any questions, please fire away.
No, nothing at this stage. So maybe let me just kick off with a question. What is the cost of something like this? If you set up a metaverse platform, what's involved, and is it like a monthly subscription or an annual or a once-off for the platform? How does this one work?
Yeah, very, very good question, Lee. So essentially, yes, it is a combination of that. So there's two types of expenses that you would have for creating a metaverse. So the first thing is there's the number of users that are in the space. So depending on the number of users, up to say 50 people, and I think that is definitely the most popular metaverse. If you use up to 50 people, there is a monthly subscription fee that you pay for that. And we've got different pricing in US dollars, so I don't want to quote, but it's very affordable. It's from like 1,500 Rand a month for the monthly subscription, which gives you your metaverse. Now, the second cost that you got is the actual space, which is your virtual space. Now, there's two ways you can get virtual space. You can either get what we call a template space, and in that template space, it could be the example of our office that we've done, but it's with your assets inside and your branding. And it's not too excessive. That starts from around about 15,000 Rand a month for a template space. Now, if you want to have a bespoke build, and if you want to sit down with the digital architects and go, then the numbers, it does start going up from around about plus minus 25, 32, and it could go up to the hundreds and 200s. And depending on the size of the space, depending on the type of space, depending on the number of people in the space, that all determines what the costing is of a metaverse. The beauty about the metaverse in a template space is that we could typically take a template space and we could start dropping in your stuff this afternoon. We could give you a URL and you could be in the metaverse this afternoon. We're actually launching very shortly a free virtual office for up to 5 users. And so we want to encourage people to use that space going forward. And we're going to be launching that very shortly. So that would be any virtual space which you want to have, say, an office meeting up to 5 people. And that will be free of charge, and for nothing, gratis and for nothing. So, and I think we want to be able to get people to get used to how they use that space and how they actually move around that space. So yes, there is a free option going forward, but then it's only 5 people. If you want to get more people, if you want to start, using it as for company meetings, or if you want to use it for, displaying product, for having an event and doing presentations, and obviously then the monthly subscription kicks in for that. But that's essentially, that's kind of what you're looking at for costings. So we obviously developed the space. We've done it for the city of Cape Town. We built a space from scratch. I could actually show you a demo, but I think next time what we could do, Lee, is we could invite people to actually come into the metaverse itself, because currently we're actually on the Zoom platform and it doesn't work as effective. And we'd rather get people, to get a feel to come into the metaverse and actually see how it operates. And it's pretty easy how to move around. It's video on, video off, as I mentioned. And then, of course, how you move around is either on your trackpad, forward and back and sideways, or on your keyboard on your laptop, left, right, forward, back, and that kind. And then you just got to wear sort of a very basic earpiece. I mean, I've got AirPods on, so you could use any sort of cell phone connection that is plugged into your laptop. And if you already get fancy, you can put your 3D Oculus headset. And but you're going to look a bit silly if you're going to do business, sort of with this big headset. So it tends to be more for the gamers. So hopefully I've answered your question there, Lee. I don't know if there's any more.
Yes, no, you have. And just leading on to that question, I've got another one. If I were selling, for example, a week of timeshare at a specific resort, and I wanted people to see what that unit looked like, the beauty of the space of timeshare, would I be sending those people a link? What would their requirements be to meet me? And that space, that metaverse space, I understand from what you've said is that it will look like the timeshare resorts.
Yeah, look, so if you want to create a space that looks like the resorts, then we'd have to develop a bespoke build for those timeshare resorts. What happens is, for example, the brand would be obviously there would be a URL. Remember, the metaverse is web-based and it's not app-based. Zoom is app-based and so is Teams. And the beauty about web-based is that you can access it on your phone, you can access it pretty much anywhere, everywhere, very quickly, and you can log in. So once you're in, and then you're in one space. Now, in that one space, you could load a virtual reality tour of any of your spaces without leaving that space. We could put a background of any of your developments in that background. But we could essentially create a whole sort of experiential tour, and however you want that experience to be, we could create that environment where people can walk around and they could actually experience, that particular timeshare, and we can put you in that sort of area. So anything and everything any type of technology we can load into the metaverse, and you can interact in that one space without leaving that space. And that's very important, because if you want to have one of your sales consultants or somebody in that space that wants to talk to somebody about either purchasing some timeshare, whatever it may be, you don't leave that space, because now you've dropped the business card, you permanently are there. You can still consume the video on the big screen, but you're still in that metaverse space. You haven't left. Now, if you're doing that on the web, you're going to actually shift over to another page and you've gone, you've disappeared. Whereas you could actually have a real life consultant in that space interacting with you, having a discussion. So your imagination is endlessly in terms of how you can do it. That's entirely up to you. You can do it, in any which way you want to.
Oh, no, that actually sounds wonderful. I really think that it would be quite an amazing experience for someone to be able to, like you say, click in, this is what the unit looks like, click here, this is what the amenities and facilities are like. It's quite an exciting time we're living in.
Yes,
and
it is.
an exciting opportunity for a new way of selling timeshare, and to be able to meet the millennials, the gamers, on their own platform, I think would be quite exciting as well. So I think this has been extremely insightful. I've thoroughly enjoyed this presentation. I was saying to you earlier, my husband heard you first at your presentation at Maersk, and he came home with such a glowing review and telling me everything. And it was very hard for me to really understand what he was talking about. But now that we've seen it, it's very...
I think the key is, Lee, I think one of the keys that a lot of people promote the metaverse as this big gamification platform, and it's much more than that. And it's going to be the future of commerce and how we do business and things in the future. So, and I think that opportunity has been missed by many of the people that are in that. So, and really, I just gave you a little bit of an insight in there. And I think next time, if we do engage, I'd like to, invite you over to obviously our metaverse, and then we can take you on a proper tour and we can show you different types of products. It's very difficult to do it on a shared screen basis on Zoom, but I'm open for that. If somebody would like to set up appointments or whatever, I'm quite happy to do that, with my colleague, and we can take you on it and we can really show you properly how you can actually interact and engage in that space.
Thanks, Neil. I think that we don't have any other Qs in the so don't have any other questions in the Q&A. I think maybe we can
Perfect.
just leave it there. I just want to say thank you very, very much. I'm quite sure that we're going to be doing another follow-up webinar. I'd love to take you up on that invitation and do our
Sure.
next presentation inside the metaverse. And
Yes.
yeah, we will definitely chat and touch base early in the next year, and as to how we can move forward on that. Thank you again.
Wonderful. So Lee, thank you very much for the invitation. Really appreciate it. It was wonderful chatting to you all. Thank you all once again.